Hey everyone, Sari here, and welcome back to another week of Astra Season offense matches. Claude's bonus week was an excellent chance to let him show off a bit, even if Hell stole most of the spotlight from him last week. This time around, though, he got to sweep the week himself. Combining Null Follow-Up with Fallen Star's damage reduction and gravity effects makes Claude an extremely powerful sweeper, letting him punch through enemy frontliners while controlling the battlefield. Being a ranged flyer gives him a very easy time navigating the map, letting him ignore most terrain features and avoiding traps along the way. Catry is a fantastic enabler for him, and for the team as a whole. Triangle attack turns Claude into a wall-breaking menace, and the mobility she offers the entire team opens up countless options for navigating and defense. With Claude as the bonus, it's also really easy to set up a great support lineup for him. Having two dancers really opens up the team's options, and Thor's ability to sneak in a Gale Force, or just let Claude break through guard effects, is really valuable. Asher is mostly here to soak Bright Shrines and give Claude access to a full attack buff, but can easily work as a third option for demolishing the enemy team if necessary. Now that we've gone over the team, let's get to the first match. This match will be a fun way to start off the week. They've got a couple of very highly invested units that I haven't seen too much on a defense. Starting with this Erica, who's basically maxed out for speed here, even with a Vital Astra on top of everything. She's actually very fast if you attack into her here, with 61 speed on her own without any support. And if Ignatz rallies somebody for attack and speed, that number can go up pretty quickly. Ignatz himself is also very impressive with a double unity set that can make him extremely bulky and also hit incredibly hard if he gets hit with an attack debuff, while far save means that you're forced to go through him first if you want to attack his team with ranged attacks. The rest of the team is pretty straightforward, though seeing a Basilio at all is pretty neat, honestly. The solo parts of his kit don't work too well here since, well, he's not solo to start with, and the team's a bit boxed in here. But if he does get to use those, he can end up doing quite a lot of work, especially with how much speed stacking he has. The near save Idun is a nice way to help screen from any melee threats, and the bonus week Duma and the Saras are mostly here for support and lift loss reduction. The team does have one way to get out of this corner thanks to Mirabilis and her guidance, but overall, this is a pretty straightforward thing, and I'm not expecting to have any real issues with this. We're actually going to get things started right away here by moving Catria up a tile and having marry a Dancer. And Thor can jump past Catria, and Claude is just going to quad down Ignatz. Attacking here should actually stop their first turn from happening at all, since we're now out of range of their team after the gravity hits Mirabilis, and the safety fence is just going to disable it. Yes. And we'll just spend the rest of the turn starting to clear up some of these structures.
There is but one future.
Oh, and it is a fake trap after all. And wait for the next turn. Here, we should be able to open things up and, for the most part, clean things out this turn. Claude isn't going to have any problems handling Basilio.
I won't back down.
And we can just start dancing him through the rest of their team.
Sure thing.
Starting with Mirabilis to avoid any dance nonsense.
Close your eyes.
And then moving on to Idun next.
What's this? Hold a grudge if you must.
And we can just have Catria jump into the middle of the formation and re-enable triangle attacks for everybody next turn. Yep. Everybody just slowly moves towards the entrance. We should be able to clean things up from here with a little bit of creative aerobatics maneuvering.
Yes.
And once we've picked up both of the Aether pods, we can have Claude start working his way through the team. Even with the speed stacking,
thing.
Erica's not going to compete with a bonus week Claude, especially with all of his support. And, well, Duma and Ceres aren't going to offer much more of a resistance,
Why not?
What's this?
even with the Dragon Wall involved.
I won't back down.
And down she goes. It's a nice clean start to the week. This match will be an interesting one, even though they don't have any defense mythics on their team. They still have quite a lot of investment across the board with a maxed out Brave Edelgard, and a maxed out Brave Dimitri, and a maxed out Brave Hector, along with this maxed out Halloween Hector. Halloween Hector is a unit I actually haven't seen very much of in a long while now. I still remember him being a bit of a menace on release before the Dio's Hindrance was introduced, just because of the ability to nuke an opponent's defense before they could do anything about it. This plus 10 Ultimate's another fun addition to their team, and they have a Gatekeeper as the frontliner for this entire setup. While the lack of mythics and the boxed information make this a very straightforward defense, it's not a good idea to take it too lightly, just because these units can still do a lot of damage if you're not being careful. And Gatekeeper's ability to restrict movement in the area around him, along with the position of this tactic room and all of these traps, can make it a bit of a tricky defense to approach safely. I don't think I'm going to have too many problems with this, although we are going to have to pull some movement shenanigans if we want to test this trap and start the fight immediately. But I think it should be doable. We're actually not going to get to take advantage of any teleport effects too much on this first round, since, well, Gatekeeper is actually stopping us from warping into this tile.
Close your
But
eyes.
we should still be able to test this
Wait for
bolt
me.
trap, which is fake, that's fine. And then we'll have her move over here and test this trap too. That one's real, okay.
Yes.
And there, we'll just have Asher move out of Gatekeeper's attack range, or out of the spot that Claude's
What's
going to
this?
need to attack him from at least. And then we'll move Claude
A
in,
new dawn.
and Claude should be
Let's
able
go.
to limit their threat range so that the safety fence kicks in and we don't have to worry about being attacked this turn.
I seek a
And
foe.
Thor's just going to open this up, and we'll say go. Finding
Not
this
my
real gravity
first
trap
choice.
actually helps us out
By
quite a
your
bit
will.
here and lets us open things up a
To
little
be
bit
by
more
his
here.
side.
And once we clear those out,
Let's
we
go.
can have Claude start quadding his way through the rest of their team. Starting with Dimitri,
Leave. Now.
Close
then
your
moving up.
eyes.
gradually,
What's this?
to start on Edelgard.
Ha!
There is
And
but
then we'll
one
reposition
future.
Peony forwards.
My warmest greetings.
Sure
and
thing.
take down Eltigan. We don't actually get to quad
I won't
Eltigan,
back
but
down.
it's not really going to save him even with 50% on the first hit. And from there, the Hectors can't reach us.
Wait
And
for
from
me.
there, we should be able to close things out without any real problems. We'll just
They
break
will
one pot
submit.
and the other pot,
What's this?
and have Claude quad down one Hector.
Ha!
On the
Before
right foot.
dancing him,
Sure thing.
close out the match.
Hold a grudge if you must.
Pretty straightforward there. Always good to have one of those. Let's see what we get next. This match is going to be a fun little cavline. I haven't seen too many of these lately, but it's always interesting to run into a maxed out Reinhardt like this. It's pretty spooky. The attack res isn't something I see too often on him, and actually makes him pretty resilient to magical attacks, especially combined with his lull and his natural bulk. And the attack defense solo puts his defense at a solid level too. The Veronica with odd recovery does a really good job of helping to force this turn 1 even against a safety fence, since these cavalry units cover 3 of the starting tiles, and that can make it pretty difficult to hide, especially if you're using extra structures. Leaf, as usual, is always a menace, and this rally trap Seekered is very annoying to handle, especially with this pass tech that actually lets him sneak through enemy formations, including safe balls or gatekeeper forward positions, and attack something you don't want him getting onto. The two dancers do a good job of making sure that you can't just isolate this, and, well, Cirrus is always a decent mythic to pad up your stats. The Wings of Light doesn't really do much when Mirabilis is the only other mythic on the team. Mirabilis' double distant guards do quite a lot of work against hit and run approaches too, just making this front line significantly more durable. We shouldn't have too much trouble dismantling this though, and should be able to actually just get things started on the first turn. We'll start by just having Ashura take out this panic banner, and then repositioning Claude forwards, having Catria wait in place.
Sure thing.
And that lets him move over and start by knocking out Mirabilis.
Ha!
Why
Before
not?
getting danced and continuing to strafe the enemy
What's
front
this?
line by knocking out Reinhardt.
Tuh!
My
And
warmest
getting danced
greetings.
one more time,
Let's
and then we'll
go.
close it out by knocking out Veronica.
Ready or not, here it comes.
I actually did miscalculate this just a little bit, since Peony is still in range of us, so we're not going to end up using the safety fence here. But after this rally, Peony should have just enough attack to get baited by Claude, and even if Secret does get danced, he can only reach Claude anyway, and the gravity means that nobody else will reach us even with a Holy Knight Aura in play.
They will
So we'll just
submit.
move the Thor forwards and say go. Yep, here comes the rally, and here comes Peony, who can do a little bit of damage, but even without Fallen Star, it wouldn't be enough to really threaten Claude. And thanks to gravity, nothing else reaches us. And now that
Not my
I've
first
hopefully
choice.
stopped giving myself heart attacks for today, we'll just have Catria open this up for us
Sure thing.
and test a fake trap. Claude can knock out Leaf,
I won't back down.
Close
get
your
danced.
eyes.
What's
to
this?
move in and knock out Seekered. Without a Crusader Ward, he has no chance of surviving this whatsoever. Even if he survived that first hit. And gravity means Cirrus isn't going to threaten us this turn.
I
Then we'll
seek a
close this
foe.
turn out by flipping Peony onto the real trap,
On the
and
right
having her
foot.
pick up her first Aether proc. And
Yes.
Dasher can just move over here, and get orders online for everybody again next turn.
Sure
And we'll
thing.
close things out just by letting Claude break this Aether proc.
I am the
We'll
answer.
reposition him over,
A new dawn.
dance him,
Let's go.
and let him quad down Cirrus.
Ha!
Went pretty well. Could have been a little bit cleaner, but it still went alright. This match will be another interesting one with Claude. They've got a pretty neat setup here that actually features a legendary Nana who I haven't seen yet on a defense, and I do think she's actually really strong, especially when she's in season, since her weapon makes it extremely hard to actually prevent or mitigate the damage she does, and her B skill also means that she's always going to do some damage, especially if she gets to follow-up. I think she might be better off with a harmonic Catria support in Dark Season, but it is neat to actually see her turn up. They've also got a pretty nifty 4-mile Liana as a far-save tank that's on their front line, and backing this up with 2 different Azuras is a good way to try and prevent the team from being isolated while giving them plenty of reach to get onto a target in the backline. The one thing this team doesn't really have is a dense trap, since neither of the Azuras can actually reach Leaf before things start moving, and without a rally, it's a little difficult for the team to stick together once the map is engaged. I actually spent a little while trying to think of an approach for this, since it's a little bit tricky to tell which of these traps is real, and if this is a real bolt trap, I don't want it to hit Claude, since it would make it a lot harder for him to just attack from these magic trap tiles without treating them seriously. So we're going to take a bit of a hit-and-run approach for this first turn, and use some reposition shenanigans to test traps. Okay, that should mean that this heavy trap is the real one. I kind of expected that, since it helps protect Ileana quite a lot, but it shouldn't really change our plan here.
Yes.
But after repositioning Claude over, he can actually just... And I actually really goofed up on planning this out, since I meant to have Claude boosted with triangle attack here, so he'd be able to jump past Peony and knock out Ileana. Instead, we're going to have to take a bit of an unorthodox plan B. It's just dense Catria, which lets Claude actually jump all the way up here and take down Ileana. He is going to end up being a bit of an enemy phase Claude for once here, since there's no way to actually work this to get him back out of here, and he's going to end up tanking the Leaf. And while Azura can actually reach Peony here, we're actually going to let her to try and bait her away from attacking Claude, and hopefully preserve his health bar a little bit. So we're just going to let Plumeria dance Thor and debuff Leaf's attack a little. And on second thought, we're going to be a little bit more safe with this, since we did find the real magic trap last turn. We can actually flip Thor forwards onto this, and have her Gale Force this Leaf, which is going to make it a lot safer for Claude to stay up here for this next turn. And she can just jump back down Catria, and we'll say go. Azura moves in first, but while she can do a chunk of damage to Peony, Peony is healthy enough to survive her, and can also finish her off on the counterattack. While the other Azura just gets baited directly into Claude, and, well, since he has Fallen Star intact, this isn't anything that's going to bother him too much. And nothing else can reach us here, except for Duma. Did forget about the ground orders there. And that we would have the Nana moving first. And somehow, in spite of all of my attempts to self-sabotage this, we ended up pulling it off. Thankfully from here it should be pretty easy to stabilize and close out the match.
Sure thing.
We'll start by taking out Nana.
Leave.
Or Nana.
Now.
I'm not actually sure how her name gets pronounced. And then we can dance him once.
What's this?
Have him break this tactic room to make it a little easier to navigate after this turn. And let Catria reposition Peony out of Duma's threat range.
Close your eyes.
And dance Claude one more time.
Let's go.
Bring down Saris. And just let Asher continue opening things up.
They will submit.
And say go.
I
think we can actually close the match out here, thanks to the
What's this?
completely intentional method of getting Claude into Wings of Mercy range.
There is but
The
one
Mary's new
future.
position lets Ashura jump past her and get
Why not?
danced to pick up her first Aether pot.
Yes.
Sure
Then I'll
thing.
let Claude pick up our second pot and
On the
give
right
him a
foot.
dance.
Let's
And
go.
let him close out this very awkward match.
Huh.
On the bright side, it did work out in the end. Let's try and clean things up for the next one. This match will be a fun one. They've got a pretty wide variety of threats from the past year, including a Brave Erica and the Harmonic Lysithia and Duochrome, along with a Henrietta's Farsave to help screen them from hit-and-run approaches, and an Aether boosting their stats with a Duma and Mirabilis. It's a fairly straightforward setup that makes it a little bit tricky to approach this safely thanks to the traps on the front line and the range of these cavalry units. And the chase potential of this team with a Change Fate in the mix is always something that you have to take seriously. There are also a lot of debuffs flying around to help enable Mirabilis' weapon with the 2 shrines, a chill attack on Mirabilis and a chill res on Duma, on top of the menace from Erica and Aether. And those penalties can really stack up if you're not being careful. I do think we're going to have a pretty easy time of this though, and should be able to start clearing this out on the first turn.
By your
We're going
will.
to start with flipping Claude forwards and having
Not my
Katria
first
open up
choice.
this flower bed, and then stay put,
There
and
is
then
but
also
one
reposition
future.
the Mary forward.
Sure
Claude,
thing.
as usual, doesn't have to worry about these magic traps and can just move in and knock out Henriette.
Huh. Leave. Now.
He does take a counterattack, but that's why he has Fallen Star.
A new dawn.
Then we'll just dance him,
Let's go.
let him take down Erica,
Ha!
this time with quads online. And then we'll dance him
I'll
one
do
more
it.
time
What's
and get
this?
him out of the attack range of the Gravity'd enemy team. And since both of their catapults miss our safety fence, we don't have to worry about them this turn.
To be
This
by
turn we're
his
going
side.
to let Thor have some of the action again, and use Catria's new position
They
to
will
let Thor jump
submit.
forward and one-shot Lysithia.
I
And
am
then
the
Ashura
answer.
can jump all the way up here, which
Sure
gives
thing.
Claude an opening to move in and one-shot Mirabilis.
Huh.
Close
And
your
then we can just
eyes.
dance him forward,
Let's go.
have him take down Aether,
Leave. Now.
On
and
the
then
right
dance him
foot.
one more time
Sure thing.
to move over and quad down Crom.
Ha!
Which leaves Duma stranded and unable to reach us. And from there
Yes.
it's very easy to pick up the Aether pots,
What's this?
My
and then
warmest
close out the
greetings.
match.
Sure thing. I won't back down.
This match will be another interesting one. I haven't seen too many out-of-season legendary secrets lately, but he's always a bit of a nuisance when he shows up, especially when he's being paired up with a Dogger, since the Pathfinder gives him and all of his teammates even more range to work with. These two also make for a pretty reasonable front line, since Dogger can be a lot harder than it looks like to punch through, and Secret is, well, himself. So protecting them both with a Farsave Hector means that it's a bit tricky to hit and run this. Legendary Byleth is a nice way to provide null follow-up support to his allies, although some of them are a little bit too slow to take good advantage of it, but the combination of Byleth and Dogger are very punishing for a lot of blue Farsave tanks, especially the Hector if they end up fighting one themselves. Having Mirabilis and a Harmonic Azura is a good way to help avoid isolation and make sure that the team can catch up to anybody who's trying to hide from them, while Zeros and, well, Mirabilis too are a good way to just boost some stats and help mitigate lift loss. These traps are pretty well placed too, just to try and prevent any turn 1 nonsense, but I don't think that's actually going to stop us from doing exactly that. Since these traps don't actually affect Hatcheria, we should just be able to reposition her onto it. Excellent, and we already found the real one.
Why not?
Before we dance Claude, and have
Not my
Hatcheria
first
reposition
choice.
him. And we found the other real one. Also good. And Hatcheria is going to move over here to give
My
Peony a
warmest
way
greetings.
to dance Claude.
Let's go.
After he punches through this Hector,
Ha!
Your luck's run out.
Ha!
which
new
lets her move all the
dawn.
way up here to dance him,
Sure thing.
and also knock out this Dogger.
Ha!
And from there we've gravitied the most ranged threats of their team,
There is but
so we
one
can just
future.
reposition Thor over and
I
have
seek
her
a
flip
foe.
Claude down and stay out of their range for this first turn.
They
And
will
now that
submit.
Hector's out of the way, we should just be able to flip Claude up here and
What's this?
move him in to quad down Seeker.
Ha! I won't back down.
80% or not, he's still going to take a little too much damage over the course of 4 attacks.
I'll do
And
it.
then Plumeria can dance Claude and let him take out
Let's
Byleth.
go. Ha!
On
Then
the
we'll
right
dance him one more
foot.
time
Sure thing.
and have him move in to knock out Ceros.
I won't back down.
And from here, we've gotten these two gravitied again, and we'll be able to enemy phase Azura without too many issues. So we'll
Wait
just
for
move
me.
Catria up here to re-enable orders for next
I am
turn,
the answer.
and say go. Azura moves in, takes her shot, but Claude hits a little bit harder.
Ha!
And Mirabilis can't reach us.
Yes.
So we'll let Ashura break one pot,
What's this?
have Claude pick up the second one,
My warmest greetings.
and dance him
Sure thing.
to let him move in and close out the match.
I won't back down.
It's nice and straightforward. Let's see what we get next. This match will be a neat one. It's not too often to see Catrias anymore in Anima season, so it's neat to run into another Catria ball. And they've got her backed up with some pretty intimidating threats with this legendary Byleth who's in season and a Brave Alm. Even though it's a little odd to see threat and attack speed 2 instead of his native 3, most of his threat just comes from having a Draco Falchion refined with Sand Scale and Deathblow to make sure he hits really hard, and with triangle attack involved, it's pretty easy for him to secure a knockout. They've also got a bit of a dense trap here with Azura, who can move into dance Catria and potentially start a rally chain with Alm and Byleth to pick something off when people aren't expecting the map to start moving. It does get shut down a little bit by safety fence, which I'm planning to take advantage of again here. And we should be able to get things started pretty easily. We're going
There is
to
but one
start
future.
by sniping this Ceros, and getting to her means we need to test this trap too.
Sure thing.
So what we'll do is have Claude move here, and
I'll do
dance
it.
him
To be by
have
his
Catria
side.
reposition forward onto the trap and then Kanto to the left.
By your will.
We'll have Thor reposition Peony this way,
What's this?
so that she can dance him after he looks at Ceros.
Ha!
On the right foot.
Then we can just
Let's go.
easily retreat out of their attack range and say go. Duma misses the safety fence we have on the other side of our layout, so they don't get to take a turn here. And from
Not
here, we're
my
going to
first
get
choice.
a little bit cramped with our formation and move Catria forward here,
Sure thing.
which lets Claude jump up and take out Catria. There, Catria. Then
I
we'll
seek
have
a
Thor
foe.
reposition Asher forward, and
I am
Asher
the answer.
reposition Plumeria forward,
Close your
and have Plumeria
eyes.
dance Claude,
What's this?
who can move in and take down Byleth.
Leave. Now.
My
And for we
warmest
have
greetings.
Peony dance Claude,
Sure thing.
and take down Olm. From here, both of the dancers can attack us, but the formation's pretty carefully set up so that the only one who can attack Peony is the blue Azura, since they're both gravitied. And, well, Harmonicas are attacking into Claude first. It's fine, since she gets neutralized pretty easily by Fallen Star.
Ready or not, here it comes.
And Legendary Azura just can't quite do much damage to him.
Huh.
Which just leaves Duma, who can't reach us at all.
They
We should be
will
able to
submit.
close things out from here. I'm just going to start by repositioning Asher onto this trap, which is real. Excellent. Makes it much easier for
Wait
us
for
to
me.
move over here,
Yes.
break that structure, and let Asher reach one Aether pot.
Why not?
Have Plumeria pick up the second,
Let's go.
and then let Claude finish off Duma and close out the match.
Ready or not, here it comes.
This is a fun one. Let's see what we get next. This match will be a fun way to close out the week. I was curious to see what kind of defense they had with this Ingrid as their lead. And this is a pretty neat little way to try and deny space on the map and cover as much range as you can, with an Ingrid as a cav movement range on one side and an Alm for a cav movement range on the other. Having two different flavors of melee sweep effects on the team is also a really nice way to give them a fighting chance against stacked up near save armor. And with 3 dancers on the team to help them get multiple attacks, this true damage can add up very quickly. They also have a marching bold fighter Faye, who I haven't seen too much of. When I saw this initially, I really expected her to have a far save equipped, but it's not a good idea to underestimate her. If she gets a chance to attack with this bold fighter, she can hit extremely hard with this iceberg. And the follow-up denial from her budding bow is a good way to help her survive a combat and enable Wings of Mercy follow-ups from either Ceros or Plumeria or Mirabilis. It's a neat setup overall, and I do think it has a lot of potential to catch people off guard if they underestimate any of these threats. And the setup does make it a little tricky to actually approach this and hit and run on the first turn, or past the first turn too, thanks to the threat ranges. But we're not going to let that stop us. We're going to continue being a little bit degenerate
To
with
be
Claude
by
and
his
Catria
side.
nonsense. Catria can break this and then just immediately move on to the heavy trap to test it, so this bolt trap is probably real then. It's fine.
Close your
From
eyes.
here, Plumeria is going to dance Catria.
What's this?
Claude can just jump forward and knock out Olm.
Ha!
The gravity here does a lot of work for limiting their threat range and letting us get away with our safety fence nonsense.
Not
So we
my
can just have
first
Catria
choice.
break this,
On the right
and
foot.
Peony can jump all the way up here to dance Claude
Sure thing.
and move him out of the way,
There is but one
while
future.
Asher
I seek a
or
foe.
move on over.
Let's go.
And from here we can just start picking the rest of them off. Knocking out Azura here also disables their 2's hindrance, which means that
new
we're going to
dawn.
have Peony move over here and dance Claude, so that she can dance him again
Sure thing.
after he knocks out Faye.
Leave. Now.
And after the duo dance, we can
To
have
be by
Katria
his
move up
side.
here and pick up our first Aether pot, before staying safe right in place,
What's this?
and we'll let Claude go after Ingrid.
Ha!
I
We'll
am the
reposition
answer.
Plumeria forward to dance
Oh,
him
I'll
one
do
last
it.
time,
Sure thing.
and take down Mirabilis.
Tuh!
And thanks to Fallen Star, he's not going to have any problems enemy facing their Plumeria, even with the Archer effectiveness against
By your
fires.
will.
So we'll just reposition it over here and cast the Bolt Trap. And say go. Plumeria moves in, but, well, 80% does a
I
lot,
won't back down.
and she doesn't have any way to survive that counterattack.
There
And we
is
can
but
just move
one
Asher
future.
forward, pick up Chronic Manor,
My warmest
me
greetings.
as well, dance her,
Yes.
and let her pick up our second Aether pot,
Let's go.
before we let Claude close out the week.
Ha!
This was a really fun week overall. It's always great to see someone sweep the week like this, and Claude managed to pull it off with a single team too, which is really wild, honestly. It's nice to give him a chance to shine in his bonus week, especially after Hell kind of stole the spotlight last time, and it's good to see him still doing this well overall. I do have a Discord channel if you'd like to hang out and chat. There's a link in the description, and there's also a Patreon page there if you'd like to help support the channel. As always, I hope you've enjoyed the video, good luck with your own matches, and I'll see you next time.